Hey, Hipster GW here, back with another Unreal Engine video. So this week I just want to talk about binding values to different text values or whatever you want to do inside your UI. So if we go here to this little project that we worked on a couple of weeks ago, if you didn't watch any of those videos, don't worry about it. It's not really relevant. You'll see at the top left corner, there's the number of dollars that you have, and then they go up whenever you add more money to your wallets. It went from $10 to $10,010 to $10,020, so on and so forth. So it adds instantly, you see. The way that I did this was through binding the value within your UI. So this $100 value obviously isn't always $100. It updates based on whatever the amount of money in your wallet is. That is updated through what's known as a bind. And I want to tell you a little bit about them so you know when to use them and when not to use them. So if you see over here, I have a custom function. We can remove the bind for a second so we can update the actual value here. So then that's sort of perma-locked into $100. Obviously, that isn't what we want. This little button right here next to all these values will let you bind to some sort of a value or a function. You can actually go and just find a property, some sort of a variable within something that you've already gotten a reference to. So I have the first person character here that we already got a reference to. You could just go right here and you're going to be just fine. So if we had a value here that we wanted to just link to, for some reason it isn't grabbing the dollar value. I don't remember where I have that. So you could create a binding, and that's going to create a function for you. Here's the function that I have for that. I'm going to go ahead and rebind it to that. Okay, when does this run? What I always wondered is, okay, whenever you run this function, how does it know when the value changes? It's pretty simple. It happens on tick. And here's how you know if it happens on tick, is you go here and you do a print string. And so then we can say, okay, we're getting wallet value. And you can see we're getting we're getting it on tick. So that's how it happens. I use binds all the time in my UI. But because they run on tick, which means they run on every frame, you want to make sure that you're careful with them. So I'm not saying don't use binds, right? The most efficient way to do it actually wouldn't be to have a bind here. This is the simple way to do it. This was the easy way to do it whenever I was creating the YouTube video a few weeks back. I just didn't feel like doing it the more efficient way. The more efficient way would be to have some sort of a listener, some sort of an event listener. So you would have a dispatch on the first person character. Whenever the wallet updates, you would then listen for that, and then you would run a function here in the event graph, or you could create a function that then updates the value. You can actually use this. Since we have this, you could just use this value, and then it would run only when the value updates. So maybe I'll do a video about how you could do that as well. But you can see this is less efficient because it runs every frame instead of only when it needs to. The thing is, it's not a super expensive function, right? All it's doing is getting a value from somebody who we already have a reference to. It's converting it into from a float to a text, and it's formatting that text. It's not super expensive. So because it was just like 40 times easier when I was trying to create this in just a couple of minutes several weeks ago for another video, it just made sense at the time. You know, it's not like we're seeing a performance hit just because of that one thing. But because it runs on frame, I just want to make sure that I made a video that said, just be careful and know that it runs on frame if you're going to use them. So don't put anything that's sort of, you know, a really expensive function here that's going to take a lot of processing power. Because if you do, you're going to run out of processing room for basically nothing, for something that doesn't need to run on every frame. You could run it on some sort of a timer that runs every 10th frame, or every, 3 times a second instead of, between 30 and 100 times a second, which is what tick does. And to most people, it's not going to see that much of a difference if we ended up doing that. Here, one sec. Let me show a clip of The Witcher 3 that I saw one day. And just in case you're wondering, what if my players are going to wonder, the UI isn't updating every frame, this looks really unprofessional. Here's The Witcher. So this might be really hard to see, but if you look up here and you ever play The Witcher, okay, so this one's actually updating. Oh yeah, it's not updating every frame. it doesn't update every frame because you see it jumping between numbers. So they obviously aren't running this on tick. The people who made this, what the heck? I know what their name. They made Cyberpunk. What are they called? What's their name? CD Projekt Red. Obviously, they're not using tick, and people love The Witcher. So it doesn't hurt to be efficient with your UIs, but also sometimes you're in a hurry like I am, and I said, okay, I'm gonna clean it up later. So I'll clean this up in a future video. The thing I wanted to say was you can use bind. I use bind. I'm not saying don't use bind. I'm saying know just that it runs on tick so you know when to use it and how to use it and why to use it. So, but hopefully that was pretty helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Later.